Are you using watercolor for urban sketching? Here are different ways to use it for very different results. I have a very minimal setup with a small sketchbook, small palette, just a fountain pen and a brush pen, a clip and some tissue to wipe out my brush. So the first thing you can do is make a sketch with a pencil. So you have to add a pencil in your kit and fill with color. And this painting is very dark, so I know that the watercolor will cover my lines. And then I just want to fill everything with watercolor and just add an outline to the focus point of the image, which in this case is a house hidden in the trees. So this is a way to give a focal point to your composition, because you always need a focal point. You can also draw directly with the fountain pen or a pen, whatever you have. Just make sure this is waterproof because you will add the watercolor on top of the drawing. So it's interesting because you cannot make mistake, or if you make mistake, that's fun because you have to integrate the mistakes inside your final results. And here I'm painting on location, which is always interesting to say because you have to sit somewhere or stand somewhere and be able to place your sketchbook and painting somewhere. Here I'm using a big rock. And here is the final painting, which is a bit different from the actual form, but it's a memory. I'm building memories. I'm not making photos with my drawing. And here another way to draw directly with a pen, always waterproof pen, make sure of that, make test before you go. And here I'm using a more textured paper and I'm drawing what I see, which is a very complicated building. And yeah, it's a way to do it is to build details and details, or you can do an overall drawing and fill inside the details. It really depends on my mood and the type of building I have in front of me. And today I have my spray of water with me, so I want to spray the paper before adding the watercolor, and it will give me something very diffused, very soft, because I feel that the drawing is hard enough, is way too visible, so it will be interesting to give variation of color to the building with wet on wet techniques, even if the building in real life, which is in Prague, by the way, has a complete flat color, but I think it would be too flat to have a plain color. So I'd rather have variations of color inside my painting, and I am adding the color before the paper dries. So this is possible if you have a paper that is meant for watercolor, which is the case with this Moleskine sketchbook. And the one I'm using before is a Stillman and Burn, which is the Zeta series, and it's not exactly meant for watercolor, so you cannot get those wet on wet techniques inside. So just make sure you have the right paper before doing that. Now, if you are feeling brave or you want something loose, what you can do is paint directly with the watercolor without any sketch, any drawing. And this is both scary and fun. Scary because you don't want to make mistakes, but it's also a great way to get loose and let it go. It's urban sketching. It's not a masterpiece, and there is really no problem. Even if you make a big mistake, so what? So what? You can cover it with gouache once you're back home, or with acrylic pens, acrylic markers, acrylic paint even. It's not a big deal, or you can paste some ephemera on it. So really, I encourage you to try this and jump in it. Just paint, just have fun, enjoy, and make memories. And after, you can still fix some little mistakes with the final drawing on top of it, which can be exactly following the shapes of the color, or it can be outside of the shapes as well. Both work. It really depending on your style and what you want to achieve with your urban sketching. And if you want to get even loose, just spray water on watercolor paper and apply the color directly into the wet paper. And I mean it, it's really wet. It's not soaked, but I was very generous with the water. And now your colors will really bleed into each other, and it's uncontrollable almost. You see, it's really merging into each other, but it's giving such a nice effect. It's really messy. I love that. The only downside is that you have to wait until it's fully dry before applying the drawing on top of it. And depending on the weather and the time you have and the people with you who are still waiting for you until you have finished your drawing, it might be difficult. So you could also take a photo of it and draw once you're back in your studio. And when you draw, you can just ignore the color or fix the wrong perspective, because everything has been bleeding into each other. So it won't be accurate. But accuracy is not my problem when I am drawing on location. I know some of you will cringe that I don't respect perspective, that I am not respecting the accuracy of the drawing, the windows, whatever. I like to get loose, and as I say, it's making memories. It's not taking photos, because I have a camera to take photos, so I don't want to take photos with my drawing. And once your drawing is finished, you can even go back on top with another layer of watercolor, because there is no rule that prevents you from doing that. And this is your art, so you can do whatever you want. So I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you next week for another video.